Alright, what's going on everybody? This is Brendan back again with another video, another sim racing video. It's been quite a while. As you can see, today we are in KartKraft, which is basically the best karting sim out there. And today we are doing some time trial, today's actually the first day that I ever tried time trial. The only other thing I've been doing on this game since I got it like a year ago has been basically practice sessions and racing against AI. It's a shame that this game doesn't have like a true multiplayer that you can race against other people online, but this is basically the closest you can get, which is time trial against other people's actual times that they've set. So there's a leaderboard and everything. So the track is the North Texas Kart track NTK. I really like this track. Lots of like flowing turns and 2 chicanes and 2 long straightaways where those exits of those corners are really important. So really a technical track and a really fun track to drive and improve upon. So yeah, this is basically my attempt at trying to get as high on the leaderboard as possible. My goal going into this session today was try to get into the 90th percentile, so the top 10% of times at NTK. This is, I should mention, with the KA100 karts. So these are the slowest karts basically that you can play in this sim, but they're still quite a bit faster than the rental karts that I race in real life. So it's basically the closest I can get to practicing on the real thing that I would actually be racing in real life. So definitely these karts are a lot faster. The tires are a lot grippier. They handle a lot more different, but it's the closest I can get. But anyway, let's talk about the gameplay, shall we? So the first lap that I did was a 42.9, which is not particularly fast, but I beat the first ghost, which was, I think, like basically the last person on the leaderboard, like the slowest person. I think I beat them by like 25 seconds or something, so that wasn't particularly challenging. This next person, I did 2 laps in a row, which were really bad. This first lap, I made a few stupid mistakes. The next lap, I'm going to accidentally invalidate by going off the track ever so slightly on the chicane. And then the third lap, I made light work of it, that you'll see here in a second. But yeah, it's just a matter of, I mean, I've raced on this track, you know, for the last year, you know, I've probably done a couple hundred laps on this track. But if, you know, going a few months without playing this game and then coming back to it and trying to hop on again, you do need kind of build up your pace again, kind of starting from ground zero. And you know, I remember the layout, I remember the basic braking points, but to really get that muscle memory down, you sort of have to start all over again. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm just like building up my time and regaining that muscle memory. I recently got a new set of Thrustmaster pedals, so it was sort of a learning curve to essentially actually have some good pedals that allow me to feel the brake pressure properly instead of just the Logitech G29s. I actually have the Thrustmaster, I forget what they're called. I'll put a link to them in the description. But yeah, I can't express like how much of a big difference it makes having a proper set of load cell pedals, which if you don't know what load cells are, probably anybody watching this video does, but load cell pedals, what makes them special is they actually measure the force that you're pressing, and that determines how much brakes is actually being used in game, whereas the old pedals I was using, the Logitech G29s, it's just a distance thing, how far you're pressing the pedal, and there's springs in the pedal, so there is a force related to it, but the actual pedal itself isn't measuring the force, if that makes sense. So this, having the load cell pedals, the Thrustmasters, actually basically allows you to be more consistent, and there's more force required to reach 100% brake pressure. So that way, it's kind of hard to explain, but there's more nuance that you can do with the brake pedal, more of a light touch you can use, or more of a subtle variation you can change and then repeat more consistently and more easily. It's kind of hard to describe, but that's the best way I can describe it. I hope that makes sense, but it really does make a big difference in terms of your consistency and just your race pace in general. So it's been really exciting having that and essentially learning this game all over again with those pedals, and I feel so much smoother on it, and I feel so much more, it feels so much more predictable, which is weird. Anyway, as you just saw there, I made light work of this next challenger, so that was easy. That basically did that in the first lap, and I'm still on the stock setup here, so I think I'm going to do one more on the stock setup. Actually, no. So you can see here I am tuning the car now. So what I did was low ride height, vertical sway bar thing, driver position longitude 60, turn it back from 70 to 60, and then vertical down to 10, so that essentially moves the weight distribution a little forward and then almost as low as it can go, so helps with your stability there. Drivetrain, I just changed the sprocket teeth to 9 on the front. Brake strength, pushed that up a little bit, and tire pressure, I turned them all down to 12, and I had them at 14 before, which is a little too high. They overheat a little bit. And you'll see in a few sessions from now, I was actually really struggling with my tire pressure getting too high and starting to overheat and stuff, and I had to sort of reset and let my tires cool down because I was slipping and sliding all over the place. Now, I don't want to pretend that I know anything about tuning a race car or a go-kart or anything. I got all of those settings from a user on YouTube who set a really impressive lap time and is at the top of the leaderboard, so I just basically used his setup. So I will also put a link in the description to his channel. I don't have his name off the top of my head, but I want to give credit where credit is due. So that is the setup I used, and it really did make a huge difference. So I highly recommend, if you want to get some extra lap time, then the setup is really, really, really important. And I really do want to make an effort to learn about tuning so I can adjust the setup of my kart myself without having to look up someone else's setup. But that lap was crazy. I beat it by a thousandth of a second or something, so that was pretty wild. But we're already up to 80th percentile globally, and my goal was 90th percentile, so we went from 50 or something in the first lap to now we're up to 80 and trying to get to 90. So here we go. We've got a new setup. We're all the way up to 80th percentile, and my best so far is a 42.2, and my optimal is a 41 flat. So I've already shaved 7/10 off of my lap time from the first lap, but I know I can shave off a lot more time than that. So yeah, let's take a look at how I'm driving here. If you take a look at my steering inputs, because you can't really see, it's a shame I don't have any telemetry for my brake or my accelerator inputs, but if you watch my steering inputs, they're still at this point very smooth, and that's how I've learned to drive my the rental cart. The rental carts drive, you want to steer as smoothly as possible, but as you see on this first turn there, I'm starting to adjust my steering style where you do a little bit more of an abrupt turn and then you recenter the wheel again as you're rotating the car. So you do an initial abrupt turn with the traction that you do have on the front tires, and then essentially that allows you to get just enough rotation by, I don't want to say drifting, but you essentially induce oversteer to get the cart to rotate better. And if you get the technique down just right, you can rotate the cart without drifting it and bogging down the engine and losing momentum. So it's a fine balance. You need to essentially not overdrive the cart, not enter the corner with too much entry speed, which is what I was doing against this driver, Akai, A-K-A-I. He was quite fast, and at this point, my pace wasn't as fast as his, so I was pushing the cart too much, as you could see right there into the, well, that one wasn't so bad, but into the first turn of the lap especially, I was entering the turn with too much entry speed and then essentially drifting wide because I wasn't able to, you'll see it right here, I drift way wide and then he gets ahead of me by half a second or 4/10 or something. So it took me a while to essentially figure out what I was doing wrong there. And I've noticed I do that in real life too. That's one of the hardest things for myself anyway, and probably a lot of other drivers to get used to, is when you aren't as fast as the people you're racing against. If you're trying to catch up to someone ahead of you and you just don't have the same pace as they have, what you tend to try to do is, oh, that was a weird moment. I think I just clipped the edge of the curb there and spun out the kart. That's kind of what happens when you have a really low ride height. It happened there again. The ride height of this setup is very low, so you have to be really, really careful about those curves. So here you can see me invalidating a bunch of laps in a row by pushing the kart too hard and washing out wide. I literally have a real-life go-kart video on this channel of me doing the same exact thing, washing out wide by having too much entry speed. But yeah, like I was saying, you tend to push too hard with the entry of the corner, and what I've learned is the faster way to go is actually what they call slow in, fast out, where you actually enter the corner slower, so that way mid-corner, right on the apex, or even a little bit before the apex, you could get back on the gas, and you keep the momentum, you keep the kart from bogging down, you keep the kart from oversteering to the point of drifting, which also bogs down and loses momentum, and it allows you to get back on the gas earlier than the person you're racing, and then you're able to keep those RPMs up on the motor and accelerate. And that's especially important for these long straightaways to get a really good exit. You have to get on the gas early by entering the corner slower than you think you should. So it's a really hard thing psychologically for me to get used to, but I found once I really recognize that I'm doing that when I'm doing it incorrectly and really making a point there, I finally beat this guy Akai by 0.004 of a second. For some reason that was the hardest of this entire day. That was the hardest one to get past. Now I'm at the 86th percentile, so 4 more percent that I want to improve, getting to 90, as I just say there. But yeah, so adjusting my my steering style, as you can see right there, it's a big like flick, and then you straighten back out immediately once you induce that rotation. It's really good on something like a hairpin right there. I've never tried this in real life. I steer a lot more smoothly with the rental karts in real life. I would like to try this in real life and see how similar it is to these KA100 karts, which are obviously different. So if anyone has real life experience and would like to share that in the comments, like let me know how similar or different those karts handle. But that's definitely the way you want to steer these karts in this sim. So anyway, back to the gameplay again. As you can see, this driver here is amazingly fast through this chicane. Like, I was so impressed, and it felt like he was basically going flat out, or at least just getting the racing line just right, that he could just keep so much more momentum and traction through that chicane. So it was just like a little montage there of all the chicanes he did so much faster than me, and I was pushing so hard to try to keep up with him that I just kept messing it up so many times in a row. Here you see me mess it up, but I didn't invalidate, so I kept pushing, I kept trying, and luckily the chicane was about the only thing he was fast at in this lap, because you see how bad he just took that corner, and that set him up really poorly for the exit for this final straightaway. So even though I was like a half a second behind him on the chicane, I made up like 0.6 in the next like 3 corners. And was able to beat him. So, yeah, he was really good in the chicane, and it took me a bunch of laps to just decide not to try to be faster than him in the chicane and just be faster than him, just have a clean lap overall. So now we're at the 89th percentile. I know when I beat this next person that it's going to put me in the 90th percentile, which, like I said in the beginning, that was my goal for the day, is to get in the top 10% of racers globally. So, yeah, just a few laps here, I think, of me invalidating a whole bunch of times, just being on the absolute ragged edge. On the chicane, it's really, really easy to invalidate because you essentially want to cut that corner as much as possible. So I did that a bunch, but overall, it was cool to build up the pace over the course of this day, getting better with that. You can see my frustration, but yeah, it was fun frustration. It was okay. But yeah, it's just cool to learn the track, to really get good at it, to improve the steering technique, to improve my braking technique a lot in terms of braking earlier and being smoother, and even improving the accelerator technique too. Once you get the rotation just right, you have to really kind of feather in the gas again on these long swooping corners to keep the back end of the kart ever so slightly kicking out without actually drifting. It's a really hard thing to do, but when you get it right, it feels really satisfying. So I'm really close to him, where I'm a 10th off in that lap. I know I have a 10th in this. It says my best right now is a 41.1, and my optimal is a 41.1. I'm only 0.08 away from my optimal, so I pretty much have to put in a perfect lap. And I'm already 2/10 up, 4/10 up through the chicane, almost 5/10 up by taking that chicane really well. I don't really know what I did to take that so well. Now we're down about to 3/10, so we kind of lost 2 seconds there. Or 2/10 there, sorry. But we're still up 2/10, almost 3/10 into the final straightaway. And there we go. That's basically my cleanest lap of the day. And we beat my optimal time, so it was essentially the best lap in every sector that I had the entire day. 88th percentile in the US, 92nd percentile globally, top 200th in the world. So not the fastest thing ever, not the most, we're not breaking records out here. I've only been, playing this game for like a year and racing go-karts in real life for about 2 years. So for me, that's really exciting. So if you guys enjoy videos like this, then let me know, and I would love to do a series of trying to do the best that I can with the time trial in every single track that's in KartKraft. And they've added a few new tracks since the last time I've even played, so there's new content coming out in this game. Hopefully, eventually, one day, they come out with a full-fledged multiplayer. I don't know if that's in their plans or not, but that would be really cool. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.